Good day to all of you. My name is Kristín Dýrfjörð and I am an associate professor at University of Akureyri in Iceland. And I am going to present today with my colleague Elísa Hreiðarsdóttir, and she is an assistant professor at the University of Akureyri in Iceland. But today you will all just hear my voice. The name of the presentation is How did head teachers or school leaders in Icelandic preschool manage their job during the pandemic, the employees' view. And this presentation is part of an online conference held by the name Early Childhood Voices, held by Sturt University in Australia. The background, a little bit about that. We in Iceland did not have a full lockdown during the first wave of the pandemic. We had what is known today as a partial lockdown. Our schools for primary and preschool, for example, were open, as well as some shops and so on, with a restriction of how many people could be there at the same time. So we had a lot of people working, both at home and at the workplace. But this was a challenging time for everybody, and keeping one's head above the water level at such time is not a little task. And that was a task that the head teachers or leaders in Iceland faced during the first wave, and the second and the third. And they were hit with an unprecedented decision to make, and to do their best to keep everybody safe in the preschool, as well as keeping up the quality of education. And our question is then, how did they fare? But before we do that, I also want to tell you that in Iceland, preschool is for children aged 1.5 to 6, when they start first grade at the primary school. And we can say that in Iceland, the preschool is almost universal. That is to say 97 to 99% of 2.5 to the 6-year-old are in the preschool, and about 80% of the 2 years old. A bit about the research. It is a part of our research that we did together, and we, me and Elísa, the other presenter, and we put out a SurveyMonkey questionnaire during the middle of the pandemic, and with a lot of questions, and both open and closed. And the open ones we coded and looked at it from thematic perspective. But we also, before we put out the questionnaire, we asked people from the field to give us feedback of what was there. And we distributed the questionnaires in two Facebook groups, who are mostly visited by preschool staff. One of them is for preschool teachers, and there's about 1,800 people there, and the other one is for everybody that's interested in the preschool. And that group has about 4,400 people. And we got about 658 answers, which pleased us very much. And we are very thankful for the respondent to take the time and answer us. The research question that we are looking at here is how preschool staff viewed the performance of the head teachers or the leaders during the first wave of the pandemic. And as a theoretical background for looking at our data, we looked at a lot of writings on crisis management and leadership during crisis, among other from Mudson, who looked at how school leaders in New Zealand fared after all the earthquakes. But from their work, we kind of made our table here that we used as an analytical grid for our data. And those are the categories that I will go through and tell you about how our respondent answered. And we are looking in this data, we are looking at the answers from the preschool staff. We took out how the preschool leaders themselves answered, because obviously they did too. So we are looking at it during through the eyes of the staff. And the categories that we put up are prioritizing reactions, making a critical decisions, trust and solidarity, coordinating information, communication, and being assertive leaders, and I put there an unruly parents. And priority when going to the data, prioritizing reactions. How did they do it? According to the staff, they say they acted swiftly. They made rules and they were very organized. They showed situational leadership, and mostly they had children's well-being at heart. But that was for the most of them. But obviously that did not happen. It did not go so well everywhere. They also said that some of them should stand firm against the superiors. They thought they did not stand with the staff, and they followed the rules to the eye, sometimes without rules that seems to be stupid for the preschool or not doable in the preschools. And staff, they wanted the leaders or the head teachers to be to be firm, to show boldness and determination. They want them to show leadership skills during this time. And obviously, in most cases that happened, but not in the old cases. Making critical decisions. How did they do that? And according to the staff, they did it by having good information. And we found in our, we asked about where the people got the information. And mostly, and the most trusted source of information was our public protection agency, who have oversee the how Iceland actually is going through the pandemic, and from the doctors. So that was very important that they got a lot of information from those places, but also from municipalities and from the Association of Municipalities and the Ministry of Education. So they, to be able to make those critical decisions, they had to have a good information according to the staff. They did it by following those public instructions, by simplifying information for the staff. That was also important. So the staff, some of the staff are educated, some of the unskilled, some people have different levels of knowledge. So it was very important that the leaders, they simplified some of the information. But it was also problematic, as we mentioned before, when the public decision that they were supposed to carry out built on little knowledge about the preschool, as happened in many cases. Little knowledge about the tightness, the blueprint of preschools and so on. Trust and solidarity, how did they build that up? They did that by being positive. That seems to be kind of a mantra with the leaders, that being positive. They did it by, coming into the classrooms, by sending people something, by sending a beautiful lost the word, being encouraging, being supportive to those that felt, for example, unwell or worried or so on. They were praising their co-workers a lot. They provide information, the right information. They did not withhold information, and they were being solution oriented. So that was how they built up trust and solidarity. Being positive, it's, you know, sometimes buying some little things for the staff room or sending small things into the classrooms. Sending, for example, before Christmas, many preschool sent out a chocolate Easter eggs and so on. One of this was about coordinating information. How did they do that? And most leaders controlled the flow of information. There came sometimes many letters from all those organizations or institutions that I mentioned above. For example, from the National National Protection Agency, from the ministries, from the municipalities, from the Alliance of Municipalities, from the unions. All of those were sending in emails to the preschools, to the leaders, the head teachers. And it was a lot of work for the leaders to kind of sort out which information was important and how they presented all those information that came in abundance every day. And but they also did it by visit classroom and giving people out by oral information. And they kind of, as I said, simplified and choose which information they thought was important at any given time. But there were not all of that did that. Most did that. But we also have those that overfloated the staff with information. They had no filter. They put everything. They sent everything on, or they did not give any information. And then there was also inconsistency between classrooms in some schools that, you know, they kind of gave it up to the classroom teacher to organize, and then you kind of got different organization in a classroom A and B, and in a classroom A where you had people meeting, you split the staff into two groups, group A and B, and there was not some same rules in group A and B, and A group met maybe 2 days a week and 3 days next week, or vice versa. So there was an inconsistent between classroom, and that was something that their staff did not appreciate. Then we came to the communication. Well, the leaders and the head teachers were thrown into the 21st century. Many were there, not all. So certainly they had to use all kinds of technological tools that they were not used to before. Preschool have historically be a little bit behind the primary school in, for example, how many computers and iPads and those things are in the preschool. So now certainly they needed it. So they used phones, they used Facebook, they used Zoom, they used Teams and Google Site, all tools that were available to them they used. Even between preschool, within the same preschool, people used, for example, had a singing or group time or circle time in one room, and had it into opening a Facebook or something in another room. Here's an example. A lot of phone calls, a lot of talking about our well-being, good information about everything, listening to our voices, information about anxiety and insecurity sent to staff. Beautiful message and encouragement on social media. So communication, took a big step forward. And we know that afterward, people are still using some of those things. And for example, there's a lot of meetings between preschool leaders today that go on the Zoom, but not in person, which is, we think will be also part of the future. And then we came at this bit about assertive leaders and unruly parents. We have their capable and unable head teachers or leaders. We have those capable who was good at enforcing rules and listen to the staff, and listen to staff worries about those parents that had problems. Most of the parents followed the rules to a letter. But as always, we have a group that have difficulty with boundaries. They came too close to the staff. They came when they were not supposed to come into the preschool, but leave the children in the outside playing area where there was a staff member to welcome the child. Those parents went into the school, they went into the classroom where they were not supposed to be at the time, and so on. They came very close to the personal space of the teachers. And in those cases, the staff wanted the leaders to step in and to discuss with parents and kind of enforcing the rules. But, and in most cases that happened, but there were also preschool leaders that had problem with this. So what was named by some of our respondents as unruly parents. And that made the staff irritated, and they kind of thought it was difficult for them. Result, praises and problems. We know that the head teacher or leaders, they were thoughtful and praised the employees. They used multiple tools to communicate with staff. They were very creative in how they conducted their work. That was for the main part of them. Some had problem asserting themselves and setting necessary boundaries for both staff and parents. Conclusion, we looking at this, looking at the theoretical background of crisis management, we think our leaders performed well under duress and did their best to keep both staff and children safe. We think they fell back on their training, and probably our schools are in mostly well organized and administrated, and leadership is fine. But we also think about the honeymoon effect. The honeymoon effect is that in the beginning of a crisis, pandemic or whatever, everybody are upbeat and wants to do the best. Everybody wants to participate in the social project and let it, let it be a success. And so critical thinking and criticizing the leaders is not kind of the thing that you do during that time. That comes later. And the honeymoon effect is in the beginning, but when the crisis is over a long time, as we are facing now with our pandemic, there is quite a danger of that kind of that the honeymoon period is running out and people get more irritated, worried, and so on. But that will be our next research, to look at how we are faring during the next and the third and the fourth and the fifth wave of the pandemic. Thank you very much.